and welcome to today's episode on How to Real Estate, starring Katrina Jones. Katrina, thanks for joining us again today.
Thank you.
So Katrina is going to help us talk about the whys you would probably most likely want to work with a realtor when buying or selling. Because Katrina, you got into real estate because?
So I got in because I love seeing the joy. I wanted to be a part of clients' joy of buying a home. And I've actually bought a home without a realtor before.
And how did that go?
It was kind of a mess.
That's odd because I got into real estate after a horrific real estate transaction personally. Financially horrendous.
Oh, gosh.
Yes, yeah. The buyer was arrested at the closing table.
That's wild.
And we had already moved out, purchased another home. We thought, it's fine, we can float it for 2 days. It was not fine. So I concur.
Yeah.
Not such a great thing.
Mine worked out in the end.
Okay.
You know?
Nobody got arrested.
Nobody got arrested. No.
Okay.
No.
Well, so tell us some of so you didn't feel the joy when you were...
I was pretty stressed.
Okay. So you were acting as your own agent.
I was.
Were you working with a for sale by owner, or was there another agent?
It was a for sale by owner on the other side. He was adamant about not wanting to use a realtor. Okay. I was young, naive, I guess. I didn't really think
How hard can it be?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't think too much about it. There are actually ways I know now that you can work with a for sale by owner and still use a realtor. But I kind of felt, yeah, absolutely. I kind of felt like it was my only option. I knew I wanted that house. My husband was supportive. He was a little hesitant. It was it's a big purchase. Yes. And so to say, okay, I'm going to go in on my own, it was kind of daunting.
It is weird how if you were in a lawsuit, you wouldn't be like, let me just try this myself. Or if you had to have a tooth removed, let me just Google this and figure out, I realize those both seem like comical, but when you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, that is just shocking to me that people will try to go it alone. Yeah. So what was, I know that previously we had talked about just not understanding the contract.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Reading and rereading it to kind of say the verbiage in there is specifically vague sometimes.
Okay.
So reading it and trying to actually understand it. There's also, I know now, things that we missed. There was no disclosures. There was none of that. We leaned heavily into the home inspection and kind of crossed our fingers.
Okay. And so you were reading it to try to understand it. Were you then having to explain it to the seller, or did he have his own version of that's not what that means or that's not what that says?
No, he was actually really easy to work with.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think we got lucky there.
No disclosures.
Yeah, exactly.
Possibly, yes.
Exactly. He was really, really easy to work with. And there wasn't a lot of pushback. Like they were ready to sell it and
yeah. Well, that part went smooth, so that's good. Okay.
Yeah.
And so tell us about the disclosures. Like by not having what are disclosures, and by not having them, how did that affect you?
Okay, so disclosures are a list of things in the home, around the home, of the home, what's working, what's not working, what's been replaced, when was it replaced. And so we didn't have any of that knowledge. We did have a home inspection, and so we had some of that. We knew if something wasn't working or was working. So
Katrina, you didn't get disclosures from the seller. What were some of the surprises that you found out later?
There's a lot of just little repairs that were kind of like homeowner specials is what we call them.
Homeowner special. I like that. Okay.
Yes.
Cousin Bob, maybe.
Exactly.
Some duct tape and fortitude got them through.
Yeah. Some of the piping to the hot water tank wasn't big enough. And so, we weren't there long before using the hot water as much as we were that we had to go in and replace some piping and stuff. And so just things like that would have been
nice to know ahead of time.
What was advertised was brand new, hot water tank. Well, yes, but the piping didn't match it. So.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yikes. Okay. And did that show up in the home inspection?
I don't remember it being in the home inspection, or if it was, we didn't pay close enough attention because we were excited that there was a tankless hot water.
new tankless water heater. Yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think we as realtors are not, we're obviously not inspectors, but we can also help you spot red flags that show up on disclosure and or on a home inspection.
Yeah, absolutely.
So keep that in mind. Okay, and so so the seller was pretty laid back, but didn't provide you much information on the home. And what were some of the timeline concerns or issues?
So we actually were selling our home at the same time, and we were using a realtor for that. Our biggest, I guess, hiccup was making sure that they closed on the same day. So I also had a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old at the time.
Oh my gosh.
And so making sure we didn't end up homeless for, a week or anything like that was a huge stressor.
Yeah.
It was the biggest.
So rather than having them kind of written back to back, you were just kind of crossing your fingers and
because we were writing one on our house that we're selling, and then I'm writing another on the other, versus if you're using a realtor, all of that is kind of intertwined and coordinated together.
Yes, and contingent upon the other.
Yeah, this was solely 2 separate transactions and not
Oh my gosh, that would be stressful.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. And so what are some of the reasons why now you would never consider, obviously you're a realtor, but what are some of the top reasons why you should work with a realtor?
Oh gosh, I would say the biggest one is the amount of stress and security you have.
Okay.
Or I guess lack of stress that you have when using a realtor. So buying a home just in general is a little bit stressful. It's exciting. But then when you're taking all of that on, the amount of coordination behind the scenes that people don't see is intense. There's a lot of the title company and the lender, their numbers don't match. And using a realtor, you have an advocate who's looking at those numbers before you see them or when you see them to say, hey, wait a second, and call those things out, versus what happened with us was the day of closing, I get a call from the lender to say, hey, we're not closing today on your new home.
Oh no.
And it was a Friday, so it'll be Monday or Tuesday. I immediately panicked because I'm thinking we're going to end up homeless with tiny children for a weekend, and it was over something as small as a termite inspection.
Oh my goodness, right?
Yeah.
So people don't realize how much behind the scenes is happening with these transactions. So I do think that's really, really important.
Yeah. And then just, it's supposed to be an exciting time. It's supposed to be full of joy. The moving and the packing, all of that is stressful enough. So it's just not worth it to add all of that on. And then there's the security in what we were just talking about, the contracts and stuff. I am knowledgeable and understand those contracts now. I didn't at the time, though, so I could have ended up in a pretty big mess.
Yes, I remember originally when you first got into real estate and you were saying, oh, I wish I would have known that.
Yes.
What? That's not what we thought that meant, you know, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So, because you were also in contract to purchase a home and the deal fell apart because of a timeline?
Yes, yeah. So we were originally in contract with another home, and we were using a realtor on that one.
Gotcha.
But that one fell through because we couldn't come to agreeable terms within the timeline that the contract allows, and so it just kind of busted, and then we weren't really interested in it anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you had also mentioned in one of your homes after closing, you had a pretty significant repair on a septic line.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So that was actually our first home.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. And it was, we weren't even in the home 6 months, and it still had the original clay piping. And so it was between the home and the street is where it had busted.
Yours, not the city's.
Yeah,
we always want it to be the cities, but and a knowledgeable realtor would know that and be able to point that out. So, and again, I think when you're spending rather, $100,000 for your first home or $250,000 or even more, it's just a weird concept to me that people are worried about saving $12,000 on a $250,000. It's just, that's kind of weird to me. But to each his own. If you're rocking a FSBO, go for it. But based upon what Katrina learned, she said, let me go get my license, figure this out, and make sure I help as many people as possible get through that. So now you've done quite a few transactions, and double digits is where you're at with that. The average realtor in our market actually does less than double digits in a year, so you're killing it. What are some of the pain points that you have streamlined that you can help your clients kind of move through as far as just being knowledgeable and helping them, preparing them?
Yeah, so I think the biggest one and the first one is making offers. A lot of times people are confused on what that looks like or how much they should offer because, they want to get a good deal, but you also don't want to insult the other party. And so that one has probably been the biggest hurdle that I've kind of been able to help my clients be able to come out on the other side to say, oh, okay, they feel like they paid a fair price. They feel like they got a good deal. Nobody's upset.
Yes, yes.
And that really starts the whole transaction out somewhat smoothly when everybody's happy on both sides.
Yeah. And there's a lot of, rules to negotiation, and everybody has a different spin on it. But I genuinely believe if one side feels like they got cheated, it can ruin the entire transaction because that person is still in the home, the seller, if the seller feels they got cheated, up until the day of closing. I don't know that you really want someone who feels cheated in your home for an additional 30 to 45 days before. Do you know where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
So I do think that both parties need to somewhat feel like it was a fair deal, right?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. Okay, and so you've made the you've made the offer, you get the deal into contract. What is that word? Contract. And then are there any specific timelines that we need to worry about?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So inspections have to happen in a certain time frame. And then once the inspection is done, you have another time frame you have to stay inside to be able to negotiate those repairs. And so making sure all of that is aligned. Every day counts.
Okay. And then who... does the title company just know that there's a contract, or who?
Oh, right. Yeah,
right?
No, so we're coordinating all of that between the title company and the lender and the client and making sure all the timelines are met. And so we're sending it to all of these different people and making sure that all of these different people are on the same page.
Yeah. When I first got into real estate, one of the best visuals I ever saw was, think of like a really long, I'm going to call it a kayak, but that's not the right term. But, like when there's 15 people and they're all rowing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what those boats are called, but we're going to say kayak. And there were 15 people and it labeled each one of them. And it had the realtor at the very beginning with the bullhorn. And then it had the buyer, and then the seller, and then the lender, and then the title attorney, and then the title company, and then the closer, and then the surveyor, and then the appraiser, and and it kind of went through all of the people. And then the realtor says, row, and then all the paddles go in every different direction. And then she's like, okay, stop, and everybody come back tomorrow and let's try again.
Very good analogy.
Yeah, and that's always kind of stuck with me. You've got to get all of those people rowing at the same time to keep everything moving forward.
Well, and in that analogy too, it's a good reminder that you have the chunk of people, so the title company, the lenders, the realtors, that are consistent throughout the whole thing, but then you have all these little sidebar people, if you will, the home inspector, the appraisal,
inspector.
That are just kind of being thrown in at random times.
Yeah. And if you don't know who those individuals are, you're not getting those scheduled in a timely manner. You can miss time frames that now it doesn't matter what the information is, you're in jeopardy of losing earnest money because you didn't ask or make the request during a specific timeline. So, and now I feel like now we're dealing a lot with insurance. Because of the crazy weather that we've had over this past year. So, okay, so there you have it, guys, from someone who did it without a realtor and decided that is crazy. I'm going to go become a realtor and help individuals not make those same mistakes. Kind of what happened with me. So there you go. So if you have any real estate related questions, that is what we're here for. Reach out. Katrina is very knowledgeable and now has multitude of situations that she's gone through and can help you through yours. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, I think Katrina can help you out with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, Katrina, thanks for joining us today. And just remember, doing it on your own is not always saving you money and definitely not saving you any time or stress. Okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, everyone, please like, follow, and share and keep those questions coming. Thanks so much.